I had the chance to meet your co-host, Daniel. So how did you
Super
guys
nice.
meet?
Actually asked me to be on his podcast,
hmm Okay, so
and
was that podcast originally Flying Chariots the Rise?
no, he was starting an English channel, and he only had a few videos on there, and he had his German one. He obviously wanted me to be on his German podcast too, so I
Yeah.
was on both of them. Then he just had an idea. It's like, would you want to do this with me as a co-host and do this? I'm like, yeah, I would love to, because me and him used to do music together, or not together, but we used to be in bands.
So you guys used to do a bit of music together.
Uh, yeah, we didn't do music together, but we had our own bands. I had a band here in Madison, kind of frizzled out for both of us, and he started doing podcasting. He just fell in love with it, and his German podcast has been blowing up. And he thought he would want to try to do an English version. And yeah, again, he invited me to do the co-hosting with him, and yeah, ever since we've been hitting it off, just booking all these cool people and meeting awesome people like you. And
I love that. I
yeah,
love that you guys get to speak to so many different people and hear about so many different experiences.
yeah,
Um, I always wonder because I'm always so interested to speak to hosts because they interview such a great variety of different energies and different people and yeah, it's just always intrigues me as to why they got into the position of interviewing those that particular subject in the first place and what were their sort of first experiences.
yeah.
Mm.
Um, again, yeah, this having my own experience drove me to what I'm doing. Well, I was doing research before I started doing the podcasting, going to a lot of hot spots around Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Wisconsin's a treasure trove for uh, modern day UFO sightings and real mysterious ancient cultures.
Really?
We have, yeah, it's really awesome. Actually, I'm actually going. Me and my girlfriend are going to go to Aztalan today. She's never been. It's a place near Lake Mills. It's about 45 minutes away from Madison, and they have these land pyramids that
Mm.
look like the Aztec or the Mayans actually built, but they're made out of land. But they actually have stairs to them too.
Oh
They have
wow.
the pyramid of the sun and the pyramid of the moon. And even the Native Americans in that area said that these people came from afar and they dressed differently. Some of them had elongated skulls. They built this gigantic wall around their city with these pyramids, and they had actually waged war with the Indians and practiced cannibalism. And the most mysterious part about Aztalan, that was just one day they just kind of dropped everything and disappeared. There was
Mm.
no sign of sickness or war or anything. There's actually a lot of digs still happening there. I think the University of Madison takes a bunch of kids down there to do digs and still
So
find stuff.
I've seen on your Facebook and Instagram you post these figures. Are they the same figures from?
That's the Kachina dolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's in uh Arizona, New Mexico area.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there is their their beliefs is that they were once wandering in the desert, starving. This is back at like prehistory. But anyways, they said that these gods came from the sky, and there were multiple of them, and they actually helped them with agriculture, mathematics, just building stuff, and yeah, they're all very detailed in like astronaut like suits and helmets, and it kind of makes you think um, where they got the idea of like the physical interaction with these beings. They got so much detail of what they look like.
That was always my like, even as like a really young kid, I remember just thinking to myself, like, how do we have really old relics that depict humans perfectly? They had no
Mhm.
problem depicting people, arms, legs, head, all in perfect proportion. Um, but then we also have completely non-human beings being depicted, and yet we're just told and sort of led to believe, oh, it was just symbolism back then, just in this one little area, and that's it. And just over there, it was just symbolism, or it was just, masks or whatever. And
Mhm.
it just didn't make sense as a child. I would question it in my head a lot.
Yeah, and Australia is pretty rich with ancient cultures talking about like the Wajina. I think that's what their gods. They're
Yeah,
talking about the, the
indigenous.
indigenous.
Have you
Yeah,
done
sorry.
much? Have you done much study into the Australian indigenous culture?
I haven't. I just a little bit, but it is fantastic.
Yeah.
There's just so much awesome, especially the drawings and the depictions they have, and the
Yeah, I'm yet
storylines of
to completely delve right in. Um, I think I may be like holding off because I think that in the future I may have the opportunity to align with some people that might have more of a direct or clear information on
sure.
that. Yeah,
That'd be really cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
talk to some of it.
have you had any I'll go back with your ufology.
Yeah.
Is that what you do like for your job?
No, I do it as a hobby.
Mhm. I think we
I
all do
wish I could.
things for our hobby. Or at
Yeah.
least
No,
that's
I
how
wish I was getting paid for what I like to do. Um, no, I just it's a hobby. I like for other people who are interested in the subject and very curious about Wisconsin in general. I take them to certain places that I find very intriguing and hotspots, and other people who claim to have seen UFO sightings or crop circles.
seen any crop circles like new ones.
I haven't personally, no, but there has been in the past here in Wisconsin.
Have you interviewed many people that have been involved with crop circles and things like that?
No, unfortunately. I like to. If there anybody out there,
Yeah, they seem to definitely be a little bit more rare.
it is. Yeah. I think it's more in the UK that they like to pop up more. It's
Well,
the
those
hot spot.
things almost seem to just yeah, quite literally just appear. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure if no one was really looking at a big open area like that directly, then you're probably
Unless
not
you're
going to see it happen.
right, or unless you're flying over it too.
Yeah, true. But
Mhm.
I mean, like the people that are flying aren't going to really probably tell us that sort of information.
Yeah. And here in Wisconsin, there's three towns that claim to be the UFO capital of the world. It's Dundee, Belleville, and Elmwood. And all three towns have yearly parades of decorating their cars like flying saucers and dressing up like aliens and reminiscing UFO stories.
Oh, that's so
So
cool.
it kind of started a modern day cargo cult in
I
these towns.
swear I saw like, I don't know if you've heard the name Earl Grey, but I swear I saw Earl Grey on like an alien car like that with like decorations and stuff going through like doing something very similar. So
Mm-hmm.
do they have a
Yeah.
lot of these things over there?
Yeah. Yeah. Enough where these towns are, they take it seriously. And people come from afar to come to these parades and stuff. Cause, yeah, because they're really cool. Again, starting that little cargo cult feel like something happened so often in that area where these people are doing the cargo cult thing is like decorating their cars like UFOs and dressing up like aliens while you see the Japanese in the Pacific and some of those islands were inhabited by indigenous people. They'd never seen airplanes before. And they were hiding in the bush when they see these Americans come with the airplanes and technology. They were so blown away they thought that was godlike, or these must have been from the gods that they're using. And after the Americans left these islands, the indigenous people started making runways out of the jungle and making bamboo straw fetishes of life-size airplanes and writing USA on their chests and with bamboo rifles and hoping to entice the airplane to land on there. It's kind of funny.
Do you
Humans
think
are kind
we're
of weird.
seeing more activity because people are ready?
Maybe, or there's something heavily going on here in Wisconsin, or minerals. There's a place called Dundee Mountain where there's been sightings for hundreds of years where Native Americans were calling it Spirit Hill because there's so much phenomenon. Actually, I've been there a few times. It's a beautiful area. They have a campground on the base of the. It's not a real mountain; it's a gigantic hill, but it has a trail that goes all the way up. But there's been tons of sightings right above uh, Dundee Mountain. Just they're just hovering, or they just go right past, and there's recording. There's been records of it happening today. So yeah,
That's cool. So
yeah.
when did you first see your first UFO?
It was October 19th, 2012. And I was on the west side of Madison, Wisconsin. I was leaving my girlfriend's house around 6 p.m. The sun was about to go down, and I was walking to my car that was parked on Kendall Avenue. And right when I was getting to my car, I just so happened to look up into the sky, and out of the clouds and out of nowhere comes this gigantic boomerang, size of a school bus, and it was jet black, and it had five dim white lights underneath it, and it was about 40, 35 feet above the treetops, and it was dead silent. I stopped in my tracks when I just saw it. I was ready to hear that gigantic roar of a sound from like a military jet, because I thought it might have been that if it was, but it was so boomerang like in the dim lights. And then the dead silent part got me, where I was shaking, my head stood up, my jaw dropped. I ran back to my girlfriend's house, like, you won't fucking believe what I fucking saw. And I just started tripping out. And ever since that day, I've been diving deep into the UFO subject and doing what I do now, and uh, collecting photographs. We can get into that a little bit more. But yeah, that
Have
was my experience.
have you ever since like so 2012, we're roughly
Mhm.
the same age, so you would have been like 19, 18, 19, 20. Um, have you had any experiences or any insights, any like puzzle
You know
pieces
what? No,
in your
I wish I'd
experience?
had more an experience than just a sighting. It was just a sighting.
I know, but
Yeah.
I think like what people are not understanding is that most of this stuff is going to be at least ignited internally.
Hmm.
So, I suppose like, have there been any through meditation or any like download little things come through into your
Hmm.
consciousness or people into your reality that have brought through any wisdoms that might align with something to do with that experience with the black craft or
Yeah. I tell you the truth, I haven't really tried to reach out for that. I think maybe having my experience in sighting steered my life where it is now, where I am
yeah.
talking to these people that I never thought I would be talking to, and sharing, getting my hand lucky enough to get my hands on these photographs that came from Colonel Wendell Stevens'
Yeah. Did you want
storage
to
locker.
tell me a bit about him and how you got your hands on these amazing treasure
Yeah,
trove?
yeah. Again, very lucky. Um, yeah, Colonel Wendell Stevens is a famous UFO investigator from the 60s and 70s. He's done hundreds of cases all around the world. Um, and he's been collecting, he's like one of the biggest UFO photograph collectors out there. Um, and he used to trade with other UFO investigators, and he worked on one of his famous cases that he worked on was the Billy Meyer case in Switzerland. And I think he spent almost 10 years hard on that case. And he continued before, till the end of his life, kind of talked about the Billy Meyer case. It was one of his favorite ones that had so much uh, proof with photographs and other evidence and metal samples. But yeah, 2 years ago, um, I was on eBay. I was actually looking up some of Wendell Stevens' books, and I happened to see that there was a bid going on for his photographic archive, and they were just up for bids. So I was like, holy shit! So I ended up winning. Well, they did separate bids for different. They had like different boxes and stuff. So I only won like 2 or 3 boxes worth of like 200 or more photographs and other documents and stuff. A lot of the photographs actually have his handwriting on the back of them with little notes. of what what the photograph was showing.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I just happened to win these bids, and I've been showing a lot of these people, or a lot of people online, these photographs a lot of people have not seen before, and they've been going viral. And that's how a lot of these people have been reaching out to me to get on their podcast to talk about these photographs. And um, yeah, it's been
Wow.
a roller coaster ever since.
Um, have there been any um, people contact you that were the owners of the photos or anything like that?
uh, no, the closest one who reached out to me was Michael Horn. If you know who that is, uh, he works with Billy Meyer and kind of preaches his case. But he reached out to me about the photographs with the UFO and the F-117 stealth fighter. He just wanted to make because he found he went to the same storage locker and found duplicates of those photographs, and he wanted to make sure that I had the duplicates, or I wasn't just some guy who was faking that I had some photographs that I just pulled off the internet or something like that. So he emailed me, or he talked on the phone. Then we emailed each other back and forth with photographs and the back sides of them, and he matched up the ones that he had. So it is duplicates. And ever since then, he's been on our podcast multiple times. We've been having him on talk about the Bill Meyer case, and yeah, just be it made it even more authentic when I had Michael Horn reach out to me about these photographs.
How many photos do you have, and what would you say are your most prized ones? The ones that
Yeah,
maybe intrigue you the most?
yeah, I would say I have about over 200, and I think one of my favorites is the stealth fighter and the UFO one because it's just I have a 12 photo series of it, so you can kind of see where the jet is swooping back and forth, trying to take a good look at the UFO, and the UFO is kind of with different angles, kind of make sure has its little defense, make sure that stealth fighter was going to do something. Um, yeah, it's very intriguing.
And we'll put
And I
like
had
I'll put photos up on the screen as well so they can actually see some of
sure,
what you're talking about.
sure. And then another one is um, Mark Coltrane, that police officer in um, Colfax, Wisconsin, back in I think 1976. I could be wrong in the year, but sometime in the 70s. But anyways, he was out patrolling. Well, he was on his break. He was parked his car and he listened to the radio and he was eating a sandwich. And he noticed that his radio was trickling in and out. He's like, "Well, that's weird." And he's happening to look into the sky and he sees this metallic object zigzagging towards his car. And he's like, "Oh my god!" And he grabs his camera that was sitting next to him. He jumps out of his car and takes a series of photographs. I only have two of those photographs, but it has Wendell's handwriting on the back of them. Again, just very impressive because it was a police officer reporting this. And then actually having Wendell coming to Wisconsin to investigate that case.
These things have just been covered up for so long, and there's just trails and trails of it, isn't there?
Mhm. Yeah, there is. It's
So,
crazy.
what's next for you regarding the UFO stuff?
No, again, I'm always on the look for UFO photographs, but they are hard to come across. And I was very lucky to come across Wendell's collection that was being bidded off because this it had just started my journey from there. um, yeah, I've been collecting Kachina dolls too as another hobby. I like to get the real old ones because I feel like they're more authentic,
Collect
real antiques.
I
Yeah.
collect those little Russian babushka dolls.
Oh, cool. Yeah, those are cute. There's another interesting case here in Wisconsin. I have a cabin out in Eagle River. This case happened in Eagle River, Wisconsin, and it was back in 1961. It was Joe Simonton that uh, he was just in his kitchen eating breakfast, and he happened to look out his window, and he sees this flying saucer like an elevator going straight down onto his driveway. And he's like, what the fuck? And he walks out and he's like, he sees this door opens and there's like a little man just peering out, holding a jug, an empty jug of something. He's motioning water. He goes up to this guy and he grabs the jug from him and turns the hose on and gets some water in there. He gives it back to this man that was in this flying saucer. And for an exchange of water, he gives them, it looks like pancakes, like really flat, burnt pancakes. And he's like, what? He even like said he took a bite of one of them and he said it tasted like cardboard. And he's just shocked. He's like, what the hell? And then he sees another alien in the craft actually cooking it on like a hot uh stovetop. It was really weird. And he said there was smoke coming from it and shit. And it was he's just blown away. After they exchanged water and pancakes, they took off. And then he took his evidence to some scientists and they found out that they were regular buckwheat pancakes, but didn't have any trace of salt. That's the big part. Everything on Earth has a trace of salt. So wherever these were made didn't have salt, you know, like all
That's
the
so
ocean.
weird.
Isn't that weird? So
Yeah.
these are out of this
Until
world.
that piece of information, I was just like, well, this is definitely the weirdest story that I've ever heard. And I mean, like, that's still really super weird, but like,
It is. There's another guy in Poland, Wisconsin,
hmm,
who has claimed to have experiences with ETs landing and hovering over his property for years. So much so that he built a landing port to attract them more. So, so he has people even come over to give tours and talk about his experience. So that's another interesting one too. So yeah, again, there's just so much mystery and so many people who claimed here to have contact or have seen sightings heavily over their town. Um, yeah, it's endless.
I get really excited because I think that, we've been told for so long, like, people aren't ready for disclosure and all of that. But people are absolutely ready. Humans are so powerful and they're so in tune, and they have so many connections. Um, they're absolutely ready. And I think that we're seeing that, the more and more people that are coming forward, that are speaking, that are sharing their experiences, and very, very, very few of them, um, the authentic ones. I've very little fear involved.
The most challenging part is probably religion, getting everybody to think differently, or I think they maybe people think they're going to be lied to for so long, or I don't know, or people won't go back to work. Society would kind of stop in its tracks. So I think that's what's the fear is. Maybe that's why we're having
I
this
mean, I
slow.
feel like it's almost like, yeah, it's just so orchestrated at this point. They're delaying the inevitable and still clinging to
Mhm.
trying to control the narrative. And it's just, I think that enough people um, have woken up that the momentum has been created.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. No, I totally agree with you. And I think too, war, unfortunately, is sparking another interest in extraterrestrials. Wartime, you see a lot more activity because they're curious on how we're doing. So yeah, hopefully we don't run into any bad ETs that come come
I
in.
honestly, man, I think that we have more to fear from humans themselves than any
Yes,
extra dimensional.
yes, I totally agree.
Mm.
Yeah, we would have been long gone if that was the case too. Like,
Absolutely. Right? Tell me how people can contact your channel, and all your other socials.
sure. Yeah. You can check out our podcast. It's Flying Chariots The Rise. You can find it on YouTube and Spotify. Um, you can find me on Facebook, Dustin Schutta, Schutta. uh, yeah, I'm pretty open. If you want to shoot me a message on Messenger, I usually reply to anybody who has serious good questions. Or yeah.
Yeah. And I myself, like I've gone through your channel and I absolutely love it. I think you have got great content. I think that your guests are awesome.
Yeah.
One of my favorite guests is that you've interviewed is one of the Kinsella brothers. I think that was
Oh,
a
yeah.
fantastic interview as well. They both have really, really fantastic stories
Mm-hmm.
and experiences to share.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that you guys are doing a really, really great thing by having this channel and this platform for people to share their experiences.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you. Thank
appreciate
you
that.
for taking the time to chat with me. And I'm really excited because I'm coming on your guys' show quite soon.
Yeah. Sweet. I'm so excited to have you back for a second round on our podcast.
The truth is out there, and it's in you too.